Everyone, my name is Danae Bartke. I am the Executive Director of H2 Network America, as well as a patient with classical homocystinuria. I'd like to thank you for listening in today as we discuss what's your why and reason for participating in the RareX Data Collection Program. I'm joined here today by Liz Carter. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, so my name is Liz and I am in South Carolina. I have a 6-year-old little boy named Elliot who has classical homocystinuria.
Hi, so we are going to be discussing today really what's your why for participating. So every patient who has any of the homocystinurias is eligible to participate. And so we thought it would just be a good way to kick things off with the program to kind of talk about what it is, why we should participate, what the word data really means in this context, and the time commitment. Because I know for many of you, there is definitely a concern about how much time do I really need to put into this. And so we'll be kind of walking through some of those things really for a short little bit here this morning. So we're going to start with what is the data collection program. Liz, do you want to kind of take it from like the parent perspective?
Yeah, so when I first saw the HCU Network America posting about this RareX data collection program, I was a little fuzzy on exactly what that meant. But I ended up logging it or signing on and enrolling and discovered it really is just a series of surveys that are designed to collect your experiences. It asks, all questions about health history and real specifics, things about hair, skin, eyes, social emotional stuff. So it really is just a series of surveys. I was a little overwhelmed, I think, hearing data collection, and I wasn't sure, like I said, exactly what that meant. But when I got into the program and started taking the little surveys, I was like, oh, okay, this is easy. So yeah, for me, I look at this program and this collecting of the information as just kind of a way to piece together a lot of puzzle pieces. We're always trying to connect dots and say, is this what I'm experiencing or what my child's experiencing a part of his homocystinuria, or is this just a normal thing? So I kind of look at this database and as a way for researchers to kind of step back and go, okay, let me try to put these puzzle pieces together.
So I'm going to go about what's my why and then kind of go into some of the additional things that researchers and patients can get out of this. So my why is that when we were diagnosed, I was 10, my brother was 5, and the life expectancy for a classical homocystinuria patient was 30. I was also told I would never be able to have kids, and I passed those milestones. I have a 3-year-old daughter now who's almost 4, and I'm well into my 30s, and there's really not a lot of known what happens next, because we're not supposed to be meeting those milestones according to the original natural history study that was done and completed the year I was born. So the data we do have is outdated. There are much better therapies available now compared to when we were diagnosed. And so patients are living long, they're doing better. Their quality of life is so much better than it was almost 40 years ago. And so, my why for participating is to kind of help show that, patients can live very successful and full lives. Yes, there are definitely bumps and obstacles along the way, but, there's a lot more to it. I also know that as I do age, there's been a lot of questions of, is it just part of aging, or is this part of having homocystinuria? We won't know until, there's more patients that are older participating, and also, younger ones too. Maybe they have overlapping symptoms that I have. And so we just don't know. And so I'm looking for answers, and I'm hoping that, you know, we can retrieve those lesser known things from the program like this. So what this program does allow is that it does allow for researchers, you know, we are the experts. So we are helping inform researchers how the disease can change over time and what it actually looks like from our perspective, not just, you know, these tiny little data points that, you know, some publication with 10 patients has. The data collection program is global. And so we can have thousands of patients from around the globe in their experience. And this information also makes for better clinical trials. I mean, what good is a clinical trial that's not designed with the patient in mind? You know, there's more things than just homocysteine levels that we experience. And so why not make those some of the endpoints? You know, why not get better results all around? And so they need to know what those things are that we're experiencing, though, to make those their endpoints. A couple things to note: anywhere that you have an internet connection, you can participate. And then the other thing is, it does not matter if you are in the US. We also, as you can see here, our partnering organization is also HCU Network Australia. You can live in Australia, but you don't have to live in the US or Australia. You could live in the UK. As long as you can speak English, read it, you are welcome to participate. We are hoping in the future there'll be the ability for things to be translated into other languages, but right now, if you can speak English, you can participate. All right, I think we should probably talk about the lovely consent page. Do you feel comfortable with that, Liz?
Yeah, well, I was just going to add, I didn't really hit so strong on the why, what really compelled me to participate, but it's just, you know, I want what everybody in our community wants, and that is to one day have a cure for HCU. And right now, you know, there are treatments on the horizon and in development. And, you know, I don't want Elliot to have to go another 6 years, to live another 6 years on this planet without a treatment that makes his life easier and helps him to live a more normal life. And so I really believe that programs like this will play an instrumental role in that. And so if I can be a part, just by sharing our experiences, be a part in that development and helping to bring those treatments to market, I'm all for it. So that's kind of my reason for jumping in.
Right. And I think the one thing we should delineate too is, you know, there are natural history studies for classical homocystinuria and for the other homocystinurias. And this is a great accompaniment to them. So natural history studies typically look at kind of focus areas, and this allows us to look at a more broader spectrum. And also because the data collection program is focused on all homocystinurias, we can kind of cross categorize experiences across the homocystinurias rather than in isolation. And so there's a lot more data and information and experiences that can be pulled from versus the natural history study. Although the natural history study is extremely important, and if you are participating, I encourage you to continue, and if you're not, that is something to look into as well. But this is different in the sense that you can also do it from anywhere. Anywhere you have that internet connection. So let's head over here to the consent page. So the consent page looks, I know for many, it looks a little bit daunting and overwhelming, but really, in my opinion, this is allowing you the control over who you are sharing your information with. And so you don't need to be overwhelmed by this. And I think we've all kind of seen this with like iTunes, and, you know, every time you go to the doctor, you sign consent forms. And so we are so used to seeing consent forms. What this is really asking you is who you want to share your information with, who you want to share those experiences with. Do you just want to share them with HCU Network America and HCU Network Australia? Do you just want to share them with researchers? would you want to share these with, potential industry partners who are working on new therapies like Travere and Aglia and Logic? There's all these wonderful companies out there, and they need to understand the patient experience, but they need kind of to know what our experience looks like. And so this puts you in the driver's seat. This lets you decide who you're going to share that information with. If you wanted to share it with us, if you want to share it with all of us, that is great. We would encourage you to share it with everyone though, so that way, everyone really gets a full understanding of the patient caregiver journey. Do you have any additional comments?
You hit on it perfectly. Don't be overwhelmed. This is what you see when you first just create your account. And I mean, it's quick and easy, but yeah, looks a little like, whoa, what am I getting into? But you perfectly stated. It's just putting you in the driver's seat of your data and deciding exactly with whom you want to share it. So
and that's it. The one thing that I just want to mention is it's like extremely secure. So it will, since it is our patient experiences. And so it will require like a 2-factor authentication. So we'll email you a code initially when you're setting up your account, just to confirm that you are who you say you are and that, it's not someone else. And then
you get to sign in and hopefully remember your password. If you're like us, you have 9,000 different passwords for all the things.
All right. So this is what their homepage looks like for the sign-in, and hopefully I entered my password correctly, but this is the next step of our process. And so after you go through that consent process, it's going to welcome you to the dashboard. And I've already been in the dashboard and I've started filling out surveys. And so the one survey I want to highlight, because it's going to unlock additional things, is the health and development survey. Having the health and development survey will unlock all the other surveys. But I think really what we want to do here is kind of talk about the time aspect.
I really like that it gives you, for each survey, it kind of gives you an estimation of about how long you can expect that survey to take. But I will say, I zipped through them a lot faster than the estimated time, simply because there are questions that, we're pretty familiar with. It's just your day-to-day experience and your child's health history. So don't be overwhelmed by the amount of time it says it takes, because in my opinion, it takes substantially less than that. But just it gives you an idea, which is nice.
I think that's a really good point. I know I zipped through, well, you could see that this was like the work of basically me sitting, kind of multitasking, trash TV and this. And so this was like, I think it was only about 45 minutes for all that. So it's quite a few things I was able to get through. It sounds like a lot of time, but there's a lot of surveys and a lot of questions that were involved in that process. If you need to stop in the middle of a survey and come back, you definitely can. I think that's an important thing, because I know I've been involved in many surveys. It's like, no, you get one chance to do this whole survey. And then if you stop, you have to come back and start over. And thankfully, their platform allows you to start and stop whenever it's convenient for you. So if you don't have all the information that you need, you can come back and update it. So don't feel like you have to have everything readily accessible. I mean, we know a lot as patients and caregivers, but we're not an encyclopedia of every single thing that we've experienced. And so I think that's an important thing as well.
I also like that you can jump around, like you don't have to take one survey then the next. You can kind of, if you don't have as much time, look at the ones that don't require as much time and knock those out versus having to take them in order. So that's kind of nice as well.
Yes, I think that's very convenient as well. Plus there's some that are just way more interesting than others in my mind. So, the things that I'm really interested in kind of sharing my experience about. And so that's kind of how I went about it. Also, the time consideration too. So I'm really excited to kind of unlock these other surveys and kind of see what they delve into though. But that first one that really will help open up all these things. These are all things I have issues with.
Well, and it just shows you, looking at the different topics, we're all, our care team is sometimes, compartmentalized, and we're sharing this snippet or snapshot with this provider and this snapshot with this provider. And so I just, I really think this is going to be a really good way for us to be able to share the big picture without it being, kind of information shared in vacuums. So.
Yes, I completely agree. So if you're really concerned about the time though, it really is quick, easy, and efficient. I think the hardest part, and for me, was just, I looked at that consent page and I got so overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, if this is the consent page, what is the actual work look like? And then, once you get through that consent page, which is like a 5-minute process, it's kind of smooth sailing. And to me, once I started the surveys, I wanted to keep going because I wanted to keep sharing my experiences. So it really, once you start, I think it's really easy to get the ball going, and it's kind of therapeutic too, because you can, you're actually getting to voice your experiences in a place where it's going to have a change. I think for me, that was part of why I kind of keep going.
We are living in a really good time in the rare disease world, right? I mean, patients and caregivers are being called upon. We're being asked about our experiences, and that information, our experiences, are being used to guide what our treatments will look like. So for me, it was exciting, like weirdly exciting. I'm like, man, am I just a big nerd, or is this kind of fun, like taking the different surveys? But it was empowering. It's like, this essentially, our experience can guide what our future looks like. And so it was interesting, and it was kind of weirdly fun.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I feel like I don't know. I like, well, to a certain degree, I like surveys. It depends what, but I really like that it centered around my experiences.
Yeah.
So I think that the one thing that we just wanted to stress with the time thing is, we spend a lot of time doing things that, are time consuming, scrolling through our social media page. And we don't, we say we don't have a lot of time, but there are a lot of things that we actually do. So if you, have a longer lunch break, you could be eating your lunch and filling out a survey. If you're sitting waiting for your kids at baseball practice or soccer practice, you could be doing it then just while you're sitting in the car. There's a lot of, I know that everyone is busy, patients and caregivers, but if we want things to change for our community, we have to be willing to put in a little bit of legwork. And this is something that literally every patient and caregiver pretty much qualifies for. And so I just would really implore you to participate and have your experience counted and, have it make a difference, because I know it affects our lives every single day. And, we're always thinking about the next day and the next day, because it requires that much work. So I guess, this is where we, wrong screen.
Yeah, I just want to hammer that home too, is don't be scared of the commitment. That was my kind of hold up initially too, was like, oh, one more thing, right? It doesn't feel like one more thing. It's easy. It's quick, it doesn't feel like one more thing by any means. So I encourage everybody to sign up and get started.
Yes. So right now we currently have 8 participants in the data collection program, and we are hoping to have 50 by May 8th. And so we're saying, help us go blue. And so as more patients enroll, we will not know who you are. This is all unanimous, anonymized data. And so, all we know is that a patient registered. And so we're not able to know who you are. But if you register by May 8th and you complete that health and development survey, and then that information will be shared out again, de-identified, unanimous, during our conference in June. And so you'll be able to actually have that experience aggregated into something that will already start to make a difference. So we're looking to have 50 patients enrolled by US Mother's Day, May 8th. And so help us fill up our little chart of people here. Help us continue to go blue for HCU in just another way. And we are really excited. A couple of incentives for people to participate. If you are in the US and you create an account, and what we are asking is for you to, there's two things that you can do. One, you can create a social media post and then share it with us. Please screenshot it. You can just like click on your phone and screenshot it, email it to us, or private message it to us, because we don't see them if your Facebook account is set to private. And the other thing you can do is, if you're not on social media, is you could take a picture of, you don't have to do all of this, but you could just have, patient and dashboard, or it will say caregiver, I think, if you're a caregiver. And so you could send that to us in, we're trying to avoid names. So obviously we have your email address, but what we'll do is we'll send you the first 10 to enroll will get a Own It t-shirt, courtesy of Rare X. And then at our conference, we will be raffling off for all the families that have sent us pictures of their dashboard, or they have sent social media things out. We will be raffling off a Chromebook. And so we have some, I think, pretty good incentives for people too, other than, that you're changing the course of history for homocystinuria patients. I think that's a pretty good reason alone. But
if you're like me, you're easily bribed by a t-shirt. And these t-shirts are super soft. They're cute. So yeah, first 10 people. So be one of those first 10, get your Own It t-shirt. You could even, if you're coming to the conference this summer, sport your Own It t-shirt at the conference.
Yes. And one thing I wanted to mention is, so our conference is June 25th and 26th in Bethesda. And so if you are unable to attend the conference and have and listen to hear how the Rare X program is making a difference in archiving our experiences, we will be recording that. So, don't feel like you're missing out by not being there, although we would love to, but your experiences, we will be, the topic will be recorded and shared on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, a couple weeks after the conference is finalized. And so we are so excited, though, to be able to, start changing the course of history for homocystinuria families with your patient and caregiver experiences directly correlated. So anything else, please?
I think that's it. Get signed up, people. It's easy. You can spend about 5 minutes getting signed up, maybe start the surveys tomorrow, one by one, knock them out. And yeah, it's exciting.
So in order to get there, you go to homocystinuria.rarex.org. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you are in contact with Liz, I'm sure she'd be glad to be in contact with you too. But otherwise, feel free to reach out and send us those screenshots so we can know that patients are enrolling and numbers are going up. Get yourself part of the Go Blue for HCU move. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.